Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily. Coming up, I'm back. I missed a lot, apparently. The Grizzlies fired their coach. Cleveland and Oklahoma City both hit 60 wins. And we had a big brawl in Minnesota. And would you believe it? The Detroit Pistons were involved. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, guys. Good to see your faces.
Welcome back.
Good morning. Just sit here for 30 minutes catching up right before the podcast. A little podcast magic there. Thank you guys for filling in for me last week. The shows were awesome. It was a lot of fun. I spent the week in the woods. It's very good for me. Shout out to our national parks. Yosemite National Park was a lot of fun.
Beautiful park. Yeah.
When I got out of the woods, guys, I was bombarded once I got cell phone service by just a bevy of news. First, sad news, I learned about Juju Watkins tearing her ACL, and it really it put a damper on my trip because I was looking forward to catching some of her games over the weekend. Yeah. And then I found out that the Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins with 9 games left in the season. And guys, this obviously is a huge surprise to everyone. Keith Parrish, good buddy of mine, did Saturday Slam and Jam, and he kind of, went through the entire thing. And this is our first chance to sit and talk about it. Kind of unprecedented for a team in this position, top 6 in the playoffs. I mean, they were the 4 seed when this happens. It just kind of felt like it was out of nowhere. So, at this point, some of the reporting starting to come out. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Honestly, it's surprising. And I think us being lost for words here kind of describes the feeling that we have, because it's hard to explain the way that we're feeling. When it comes to this Grizzlies team, they were falling down the standings a little bit over the last 2 months. Since February, they were, under 500. They hadn't beat a lot of good teams. And I think a part of that was just their defense falling off a cliff. They've been 20th defensively since that time too. So they haven't been able to be as good of a defensive team. You see that scuffle between Santi Aldama and Desmond Bane where Desmond Bane is asking him to guard. So there's clearly seems to be some issues. Right? Yeah, play harder, right? Yep. There clearly seems to be some issues on the defensive end. I guess the question, and I think this is what everybody is asking, why not do it last summer when you thought you were going to change your coach and you gutted the coaching staff? That's the part that doesn't make sense to me.
That's the thing. If you've already made up your mind, like waiting until now, it's just kind of delaying the next chapter and also putting, Thomas Iasalo in a really interesting position, because now not only, yes, he is known for his offensive capability, he's also now responsible for trying to fix that defense that S was just referencing, has fallen off a cliff. And you think about some teams in the league that have done this and you've seen the repercussions. I'm thinking about the Bucks. Yeah. Mike Budenholzer. I'm thinking about the Lakers after Frank Vogel. Like, when you allow this to kind of fester for so long, more things develop. And so now it's going to be a question of what's going to happen in the offseason. What's going to happen to close out this year? Because guess what? Memphis Grizzlies are still in playoff position.
And I will say, Grizzlies GM Zach Kleiman came out and said this was his decision to make, and it was, and it is. Yeah. It was pretty obvious to me they were going to wind up doing it this summer. If you look at some of the changes they made to the staff last year, it signals a sign that things needed to change. This whole offensive system change, this has been a slow boiling sort of development. Right. And I have knocked teams in the past when they wait too long. And so I think it's better to just do it now with 9 games left when you are clear, hey, this is the direction we're going, than to wait till the summer. And now you at least get a look at a guy who, in Thomas Iasalo, who is moving up the coaching ranks very fast. I mean, he's a former player in Europe. He's got a really good resume. And if he's half as good a coach in the NBA as he's been everywhere else, he's probably going to be the new head coach of the Grizzlies. So I think, you get him in there, you get him in a leadership capacity with these players. It just sets you up for success later on. Probably not this year. I mean, they look like a first round out to me all season long, because they kind of got some warts, but especially now.
I have more questions for them now going into the summer, though, because, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's going to be getting that extension, definitely going to be an all NBA level player. And you have that money aspect to it, plus the team building aspect. And now you add on the coaching hire and what you might have to do that. So it's just more questions to consider for this Grizzlies team moving forward over the next month and a half.
And a coaching hire also is a culture question.
Yeah,
of
totally.
now having to reestablish or establish period.
Yeah.
What is the Memphis Grizzlies culture too? Yep. And you've got Ja Morant that's supposed to be at the core of that. And who's he going to turn to, to be able to help set that up?
Yep. Cleveland and Oklahoma City, both now over 60 wins. OKC has 62. Cleveland got its 60th win on Sunday against the Clippers. The Cavs have been struggling lately. They did not have a great March. They've not had a great last 10 games or so, 12 games. Zena, are you at all concerned about the way that the Cavs are finishing the season? I mean, they've had crazy win streaks all year long. It just seems like things are sort of catching up with them right now, whether it's scouting report, whether it's the injury thing. I mean, how are you feeling about how the Cavs are heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, they limped to that 60th win a little bit, right? You look at their last 10 games, 5 of 5. And I'm wondering, are they just pacing themselves or are they worn out? Because they did put up significant effort to get in a position like this. I'm looking at OKC. They've been consistent. And I tip my cap to both of them, like for being able to get the 60 wins. But now I'm looking at the Cavs' ability to sustain the energy, the focus, the tenacity with which they got those first few games, the streaks that we saw them go on. But am I concerned? I don't know if I'm always concerned for these NBA players. They figure it out.
Yeah. Well, or they don't.
I am, or they don't, right? They'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting going into the playoffs of how the Cavs have arrived to this place of 60 wins.
I will put my little stats hat on for a second here. And in March, they've been 25th in 3-point shooting percentage. They're shooting 35% from 3 in this month. And so small variance there. Like, you got 10 games where you're not shooting the ball as well as you have all season. Again, this is the number 1 3-point shooting team in the league. So when you have moments like that, to me, it feels like tired legs, especially the fact that their defense has fallen off a little bit here too. So I feel maybe they were pushing themselves to get to that certain level, to get to 60 wins, which is also, I think it's a big thing for this team to get to 60 because it's the first time Cleveland has done that without LeBron James. So it's a big success for them. Think about all these kind of accolades they've added up on top of this for the last couple of seasons. I think it's a big achievement. But now prep for the playoffs, get ready for the postseason because you need to have your best game plan every single game.
When you compare OKC versus Cleveland, right? These are the top 2 contenders and have been all season. Yep. It feels like OKC's ascending right now.
Yeah, they're
on
peaking
another
at the
win
right
streak.
time.
They're peaking at the right time. Whereas Cleveland kind of feels like they're holding themselves together with duct tape to get to the playoffs. And it's just like that does concern me, right? Especially when you look at the 2 of them and compare them side by side.
If I'm Cleveland, I'm really concerned about the fact that Boston has been
playing
good.
well. Yeah,
so
number
good.
Number one offense in March, and they were last in pace. Yep. And that means those guys are doing the stuff that won them a title. Yeah, they're doing the stuff. Luke Cornett. We had a fun basketball game in Minnesota between the Pistons and the Wolves. They came into this game.
Fun is an interesting word.
Well, it's physical, which is fun, right? A little bit of a throwback, and it kind of got ruined by an actual altercation in the game. Ron Holland and Naz Reid got into it after a hard foul, and Dante DiVincenzo comes in to he tries to break it up at first, and then it gets physical.
Does he?
And the next thing you know, Ron Holland is on top of Dante DiVincenzo in the front row. There's fans trying to rescue Dante and save him. I mean, there was so much action going on that we were watching 3-angle replays. The TikTok videos haven't even come out of this yet. Nope. And luckily, look, this is not a malice in the palace situation. It was all coach on coach, player on player. Nobody got injured that we know of. So
Isaiah Stewart was showing teeth.
He was showing teeth. But 5 players and 2 coaches were ejected, including head coach JB Bickerstaff. Also, Pablo Prigioni was ejected. I mean, this was just an absurd way for this to wind up. And after the game, Chris Finch talked about it. He said that the game was too physical. And this is what Detroit is known for. I mean, they have, I think, embodied the bad boys as much as any Pistons team. And it kind of feels like a mindset for them. But they lost the game. And they probably needed this one.
Yeah. And they were up too. They were playing incredibly well in that first half. Malik Beasley was on fire. Like it was a fun game from that perspective. Like especially from the way that the Pistons were showing up. But like, it was crazy that the Wolves were throwing hands. Like I was shocked to see them like engage in this same sort of like kind of aggressive demeanor that Detroit has always had. But I appreciated what both JB Bickerstaff and Malik Beasley said after the game when asked about it. And it was really about, we got each other's backs. Yeah. And I get it. Like you saw Naz Reid point his finger in Ron Holland's face. And if you've been watching Ron Holland all season long, this is not someone you want to wag your finger in his face.
Yeah, you don't want to test
He has a bag of Doritos on his shoulder.
Yeah. Yes. And this is one of the reasons why you love Ron Holland is because he's come into the league with this like chip on your shoulder or a bag of chips on his shoulder. And you love the way that he approaches the game in that way. But yeah, it was just crazy to think like this today was a show of playoff intensity way early, right? Yeah. Like you would imagine this sort of like spark going more so. But now you're seeing, okay, it's the end of the season. Yeah. Things are getting a little testy.
We're going to get some suspensions on this one, and we'll talk about that later on the week. Also, we should announce the Suns are cooked. They've been cooked multiple times this season, but I do think it is now official. A 39-point loss to the Rockets at home. They lose KD to an injury in the game, which we don't have an update on yet. 7 games to go. They have the hardest strength of schedule remaining. Can they even go 2-5, much less make this make up this game that they're behind the Sacramento Kings for the last spot in the play-in? I don't think they can even go 2-5.
I think last night we've seen a lot of blowout losses in the Suns' home arena over the last couple of years, right? Luka Doncic has been a part of a few of them, but they've been, kind of like these makeshift massive moments for this Suns organization. Every single time they've had one of those massive blowout losses, they've gone out and done something to try and add to this team. The Kevin Durant trade is a huge part of that. And I think this tonight was actually the nail in the coffin. Like, this is over. It's finished. It's done. They are going to shift and go into a different direction. I would be surprised if Kevin Durant plays another game this season because of the injury, because of, kind of what they might do this summer when it comes to trading him. You look at their schedule: Milwaukee, Boston, New York, Golden State, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Sacramento. Not a lot of winnable games to go. And so it's done. I kind of think about the 2021 finals run and look at how quickly they caught lightning in the bottle, and how awesome that team was in the finals. And to go from that to 4 seasons later being this, it's just such a massive change when you thought you were going to keep climbing, keep being championship contenders forever. And it just hasn't been the case. Done.
Zena,
finished.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think we see KD again in a Suns uniform?
I say no.
Yeah,
and
feels like it.
I want to recall that earlier this season, even before the 40-point L in March to the Rockets, this should be blown up. And I don't know what it's going to look like in terms of where he's going to go, et cetera. But this is not a slump that the Phoenix Suns are in. This is like a structural collapse right now. Like, it is not good. They did not have any ball movement out there. They had no defensive energy out there. They had the
Phoenix
it was like,
black holes.
It was bad vibes. Like, it was just vibes out
all
there.
Suns
and those
die.
were bad.
All Suns die.
That's it. Yeah. Guys,
there you go.
Stick around after the break. We're going to talk about which teams have the most pressure to actually make the playoffs, and we're going to give our picks of the week. As we enter the last 2 weeks of the regular season, fights aside, a lot of teams have a lot of pressure to make it into that top 6. You don't want to be a play-in team, especially in the East, because the last thing you want to do is run into the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. So we have a seeding battle out west. And guys, I thought we could play a little playoff pressure meter game. You guys give me a scale of 1 to 5 on how much pressure this team has to make the top 6. And we'll go in the order of the standings. We're going to start with the Lakers, who are currently the 4 seed. They got LeBron back. They've looked really good with Luka and LeBron out there. Zena, what sort of pressure are they under? Scale 1 to 5 here on the pressure meter to stay in the top 6.
I'm going 4. And that's because LeBron's clock is ticking.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think 4 is pretty good. I would wager even going 5. They have the second hardest schedule in the West moving forward. So not a lot of winnable games here for them. Right. And so there's pressure there to kind of maximize on all the wins that they can get. So yeah, 4 makes sense for me. I'm with Zena.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. Again, you don't want to throw extra games at LeBron. You don't want to go into the play-in cycle. You want to hopefully keep that 4 seed, have home games, and be in LA.
Correct.
Next up, the Grizzlies. And guys, I think this one might be easy because they just fired their coach, so the pressure's off.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
They can lose.
There you go.
I agree.
But guess what's on now? The off-season pressure is enormous now.
Yeah.
So they've just shifted. They've just delayed their pressure. That's all.
Kick it down the road. Nothing wrong.
There you go.
Yeah. It's like a 1 right now, but it'll be a 15 in June,
Exactly.
Listen, if we look at what the Grizzlies have happening next, they play the Celtics and they play the Warriors back to back. There is a chance they are in the play-in, the 7 seed, by Wednesday of this week. And again, firing your coach, I do think takes the pressure off. So I'm going to put it at a 1 for the Grizzlies. They look like a first round out, even if they make it in that top 6. All right, let's move on. The Warriors, the current 6 seed. Zena, I'm going to let you start. You're our Warriors expert. You're our Warriors insider. They made the Jimmy Butler trade. The idea is you get him in-house, you see how it goes this year, but you've got Jimmy Butler and you've got your core for next season. So where would you put the pressure for the Warriors this year?
So I just listened to Draymond do a podcast with NBC Sports Bay Area, and he said he thinks that the Warriors are even more set up for a championship next year.
Oh, so they're going to win 2 in a row.
Maybe. He's like, it's not out of question for this year, but he said it's even better for next year because Jimmy will have an extra, opportunity to get known, training camp, etc. So I had him at 5, but because he said that, I'm gonna put it at 4.
Nah.
And the main reason is because Steph's clock is ticking and the knees hurt.
Yep.
We know. Draymond, Jimmy, all over the age of 35, right? And then especially Jonathan Kuminga. This offseason is his opportunity to make some money. That's supposed to be the next generation of the Warriors, right? So I feel like you want to win, you want to get into the playoffs, get in a position so that, and give him the opportunity to show himself like as someone worthy of an extension and a huge one, and someone that wants to stay with the Warriors to get the next generation going.
I think it's a 5, a flat 5. Because
how many years can Steph Curry do this?
How many more? How do you know next year is going to be just as good as this little stretch has been? And also, like a week off for those knees for Steph Curry will be massive for his chances.
You're right. You know what?
I took a week off from podcasting. My knees have not felt this good all season long, guys. All right, the Timberwolves, they beat the Pistons. Okay, so they've held sort of pace with the Warriors. They're a half game back. They are currently the 7 seed. This year has been interesting for them, obviously, because of the big trade that they made. They made a structural change to their team, and it took them a while to find their footing. Where do you put the pressure level for the Wolves, getting into the top 6 and missing the play-in, like actually avoiding the play-in?
I mean, honestly, I think it's like a 1 or a 2 because look, you have Anthony Edwards in a single elimination type of game. That's the type of guy I am relying on. I can guarantee that he's going to be a guy who's going to be ready for them in a play-in type atmosphere. Also, they have the easiest schedule in the West. Denver and Memphis are the only teams in the West that they're playing that are playoff worthy. That's why I think like Minnesota could kind of cakewalk into this if they take care of business. Have they been taking care of business? They're kind of a bit of a roller coaster.
Every other game, they take care of business. Yeah, I mean, that's a good job, though. If you only have to go hard every other day, that's pretty good. Finally, we got the Clippers, who had a really great March, getting beat by the Cleveland Cavaliers on a Sunday. It was a 12:30 Eastern start, and they didn't have Kawhi Leonard. I'm going to throw that game out. The Clippers have been really good. I think with the way Kawhi's been playing, puncher's chance in any series you're in. I do think they need to miss the play. They need to avoid the play-in. I would personally put their pressure at a 5 because this is, again, Kawhi is healthy. James Harden's had a great season. They need that time off. They have to figure out, they've got some warts on their roster. They're going to have to figure out, how do we make up for Chris Dunn's defense because we can't have him out there on offense. So I actually think I would put that as a 5. Who knows what Kawhi's going to be like next year? This is just
like how much pressure on all these old guys' knees. That's what this meter is, basically.
The same reasons for the Lakers and the Warriors is the same reason for the Clippers.
Okay, and finally, guys, before we get out of here, our BetMGM Game of the Week brought to you by our friends at BetMGM. And I'm going to go, look, guys, it's Warriors-Grizzlies on Tuesday. Huge playoff ramifications. I fully expect the Grizzlies to lose to the Celtics in the front end of their back-to-back. And if they drop that game to the Warriors, I mean, they are going to be in the play-in. The Warriors looking like they're in pole position to be that 4 or 5 seed, even if they could pull this off. It's a massive game for playoff implications, but also it's Steph Curry versus Anthony Edwards.
And the Warriors need to make up for their losses that they recently had, right? They just had that Miami Heat loss. They should not be in a situation in which they are dropping games this late in the season with Jimmy Butler now in the mix as well. So they're definitely going to want to pick up every single win from now on. And we know it is popcorn basketball when the Warriors play Memphis. It's always something. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And then Lakers Warriors is a potential first round series. Ooh. That's going to be good.
The NBA setting this up.
I don't know.
No, I won't go there.
Does the NBA want to delay this?
Yes.
I feel like the NBA would want to delay that.
You know what? I would say this. If you get Steph Curry versus LeBron James in the playoffs, you take it any way you can get it. I would love to see it.
It was awesome.
It was excellent.
That's true.
All right. That's going to do it for the show, folks. It's good to be back. Good to be back with Zena and S. Thank you guys for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. We work pretty hard out here. We're trying to have a good time. For Zena, Keita, and S. Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.